Ed's on a plane.
Oh, I prepared this presentation for
Just
you.
for Ed.
What?
I already shared it with
Okay, cool.
Maybe he's watching.
He's watching. Maybe from the plane he's got the Wi-Fi going on.
Right?
Paid the extra $10 for the Wi-Fi.
It's extra credit.
I doubt it. I wouldn't. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Raymond School District Number 14's regular school board meeting on this Monday, July 13th. This meeting is now called to order. It is 6 p.m. Please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Natalie, will you take roll call, please?
Jennifer Gonzalez.
Here.
Mike Powers. Is absent.
Absent excuse, but he'll be here.
Okay.
Audrey Foster,
Here.
and Keith Kesselson.
I don't think your microphone is working.
Have to give him the battery. I'll give you Ed's battery.
You know, it's really quiet. Yeah.
It was kind of staticky right before it. Thank you. Booted. Thank you, Natalie.
That's better.
Testing.
Okay.
Keith Kesselson.
I'm still.
Okay, next we move to verification of public notice pursuant to 19.841 Wisconsin statutes.
Good evening, everyone. The meeting is posted in all the usual spots: schoolhouse doors, Evergent, Village Hall, online. Media were notified and are currently not present.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Next, we'll move to approve the agenda of this meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for this meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, consent agenda. Let's do A and B, approval of regular meeting minutes from 6/15/26 and approval of special meeting minutes from 6/1/26.
I make a motion to approve both the meeting minutes from 6/15/26 and 6/1/26.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve minutes from 6/15 and 6/1. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Audrey, do you want to just say Mike's here? He
Announce
arrived.
that.
Mike Powers has joined us at 6:03. Good evening, Mike.
Morning.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, good night.
Morning, evening, whatever it is anymore. Hot.
All right, next we'll go to the approval of the board workshop minutes from 6/1/26. Keith was not here, so is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the board workshop minutes from 6/1/2026.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the board workshop meeting minutes from 6/1/26. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion carries. And then, next is the approval of Finance Committee meeting minutes from 6/10/26.
I'll make a motion to approve finance committee meetings from 6:10.
Ed is absent, but Ed was the other person present, so it would just be there's no second.
Okay. So, approval passes. Okay. Next, E, financial reports. Jeff?
So as you saw on the agenda, not every single report is in here because I was on vacation last week, well, from the 3rd to the 11th. And as you can imagine, I reconciled all the bank accounts on the 2nd of July. Normally it takes me a couple days, so I had to do the 2 payrolls for July, the new one. So I was pretty busy on the 1st and the 2nd, but I did get a lot of it done, thankfully, because I think it's important. The one thing that's not on here is the balance sheet. So the balance sheet is not on here because there's a lot of activity in June. For instance, our new health invoices I haven't gotten yet, so those liabilities need to clear once I get those. So there's a lot of things accounted for in June on the balance sheet that you just don't get yet, and I didn't want to give something to you that's inaccurate. So what you see on the financial reports, some of it looks a little different than what you're used to looking at. We'll just wait for a second. So on the there it is. So this was the first year that we did 6 payrolls in June. So in the past it was 2 payrolls in June and then 3 payrolls in August for the teachers. So this was the first 2 regular payrolls, and then the 4 additional payrolls. This pays out their contract for 25-26. So it was kind of like getting paid in July and August, except for we gave them a lump sum at once. So that's why you see the 6 payrolls listed there. So the last 3 are the similar. Letter C is a little bit more because there was a benefit for a retiree on that payroll. And this way they get the accounting is a little cleaner this way, and you're not doing a lot of liabilities from year to year, from fiscal year. Our fiscal year ended on June 30th. So then if you go to the next page. So here, again, we have a lot of activity in cash receipts. So our revenue, so just a couple revenues to explain. So first of all, we had a lot of donations from the PTO. So they had reimbursements for the 4th and 8th grade graduation, the field trips, fine arts. They reimbursed the district for those expenses. There's a couple high revenue sources there. So the June equalization aid, and it's minus the voucher. So what they do is they give you a spreadsheet. DPI gives you a spreadsheet and says, this is your revenue. This is minus in this case, it's minus the voucher. So that's the actual revenue that you get. So that June equalization aid, the 254,000, that's where that figure comes from. Open enrollment in, so that's the revenue. So I think we got we recorded as 1.3 million, but then the actual cash that we get is subtracting the open enrollment out, which is around 400,000-ish. So our net revenue was 862,000 for open enrollment. So those 2 big pieces, that's where that comes from. And then we have special ed aid, shared services, and a lot of other. So transit aid is we get reimbursed for expenses that happened in the previous year. So when you have Waterford transit aid, there'll be other schools. We have this interchange of aid because we get aid and we have shared services. For instance, Yorkville, we share special ed. So Mrs. Wagner, we get aid for Mrs. Wagner, so then we have to give some of that back to Yorkville, and then vice versa. So right now, all of the schools are working on all their transit aid once all the bills are sent, and it doesn't necessarily all happen in June, unfortunately, because some of their payrolls are like June 30th. So. And then if you look at the WISC account, so we had our beginning balance. I transferred 300,000 to the WISC account. So we ended and we transferred 100,000 out. So we have right now at the end of June we had a net of 886,000 in our investment account. And if you scroll to the checks, so there's a lot of checks obviously that were paid because of all of the payrolls accruals and all of the ending, ending financials. So there's a lot of activity there, especially because when you do the payroll, you're accruing HSAs and then WRS and then the IRS taxes. You pay all of those in June. So, and I already had all of those planned for. It just looks like there's a lot. So. And then the cash flow. So because, so we ended in June, better than what I had originally predicted. And then the only thing that I don't have right now is the checks going out, because I didn't do the bank reconciliation in Skyward yet, just because I can't do it until all the journal entries are done, and that probably won't be done until whenever the auditor says they're done, because they give you journal entries. All of that is part of the June bank reconciliation. So that little yellow box there for AP out in June is not there yet. So, but as far as cash flow and bills and revenue goes, that should be accurate. And then I did add what I'm budgeting for cash flow for the next fiscal year. So you have all of that. We did talk to PMA about our next borrowing. So we're in the process of looking at our next borrowing payoff. We pay off our current note in August, and then we get a new borrow in September or October, and you'll be getting that. That'll be in one of the board meetings coming up.
And that's a consideration of moving from a line of credit to a Tran note, correct?
Yes. But
Which
I'll
stands for
explain that.
tax relief anticipation note.
I'll explain that later.
Longer conversation, but
Yeah.
that's why it's looking a little different.
So that's all I have for today. We were also supposed to have, I was supposed to give you a budget, but there's no way I could have done all of that and the budget when I needed to. So the next budget, the budget didn't change a whole lot from the last meeting. So that hopefully I'll probably be showing you a budget on the next board workship.
Finance committee or workshop?
Finance committee or board, probably the board workshop. And then the annual meeting, there'll be the budget the budget won't look too different because there's not too many changes. So
But we have already seen multiple preliminary budgets, correct?
you've seen one. So one from the last meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeff, how's the audit going?
Good. We had our first phase of the audit. It went well. No issues. So we'll be good.
How much longer?
The second phase is it's a couple days at the end of July.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve the financials?
Motion to approve financial, led by Jeff.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the financials presented by Jeff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is our school showcase.
Yes, back in, I think, February maybe, we had heard from Ms. Klein. Ms. Klein is our school health counselor here at Raymond. She did a great job articulating academic and career planning, ACP. And one of the functions of ACP is to connect kids with future employment opportunities. So when they get to high school, they start to have conversations about what they're going to do after school gets done. And so Education for Employment, the E4E, is a plan that is required of us to be reviewed created and reviewed by the board and approved each academic year. And so tonight we're going to be hearing a little bit about follow-up from ACP, and then Ms. Klein's going to be talking about the Education for Employment aspect of that.
I can just sit right here.
Sure, if you want, that's fine.
I'm loud. So our E4E plan, or Education for Employment plan, is a mandatory under Wisconsin statute PI 26. And I based the plan on the presentation that I gave earlier this year. So our ACP plan is based on a student-driven process in grades 6 through 12. here, 6 through 8, but it follows them up to the high school, designed to help students explore their strengths, interests, and career options. Using the Know, Explore, Plan, Go model that I talked about in February, we focus mainly on the know, who am I, and the explore, where am I, where do I want to go, stages of that model. Our plan also encompasses the variety of course offerings, extracurricular opportunities, and character strong readiness skills, such as communication, collaboration, and problem solving that we address throughout the school year in classrooms during ACP and in my comprehensive school counseling lessons that I provide for everyone, including K-5. So I do a career lesson in all grades here at Raymond. And as our program grows, I'm excited to add more robust career week and maybe a panel discussion to bring that in for our students to explore. So you can see the career readiness data that Mike is showing up in the E4E plan shows what we do each for all of our students. So everyone gets ACP, everyone grades 100% of the middle school students 6 through 8 participate in career development lessons using Zello, our online Wisconsin program that addresses ACP and career readiness. 100% of our elementary students participate in career lessons and activities and weekly character strong lessons. And art and music education, all of these things are robust career readiness tools. So there's our Know, Explore, Go plan. And then it also addresses other things such as individualized ACP support, so meeting with students individually, being able to go to Union Grove to meet with the counselors there and have parent night. That's all part of the ACP plan as I shared it earlier in February. And Zello's harnessed throughout Union Grove to individualize each student's journey. And the case managers, along with Mrs. Wagner, helped develop customized transition plans for students with IEPs and 504 plans so that everyone can achieve their ACP goals. And I hope to be able to make some business partnerships, as I said, a robust career week and with career panel speakers. I'm going to be working with Ms. Rodriguez and STEAM to do some digital literacy content in ACP next year, and I'm really excited about that. And there's another program that I've found called Learning Blade that really addresses STEM, CTE, and computer science careers that I'd like to fold into my ACP class with our 8th graders. So there's a lot happening, but this is the plan that, as I wrote it, and it does have to be approved by the board. So.
Yes, ACP serves as a common thread across all content areas. So it's really something that kind of weaves everything together, so when kids leave here in 8th grade, they have a comprehensive understanding, as much as an 8th grader can, a 14-year-old can, and it's pretty impressive what they're able to work through and navigate and take surveys on and learn about.
Well, all within Zello, they have the
All within Zello.
opportunity to take many different inventories on their interests and all those things, and I think that's
And that
really
carries with
important.
them to,
Oh yeah, it follows them to Union Grove. It's actually what they use at Union Grove to continue the ACP process, but also apply for college or any other kinds of technical schools that our students might want to attend beyond here at Raymond.
Is Zello the only program, or are there others that?
Zello is the approved program by DPI for the state of
Okay.
Wisconsin, so it is the one that I use.
And that's the one the high school uses too,
Same.
so.
Yep,
it
it's
makes it
actually,
just easier.
they use it to write their college letters of recommendation. The teachers upload it in there. It's really robust. It has more than you could probably ever get through. But there are other ones out there like that Learning Blade that I found, and so
Yeah.
I'll give them some opportunities to try other things too.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
thank you for following up to the conversation from February and just sharing something as a refresher for us tonight as we're looking at approval. So later in the meeting, you'll see that on the agenda for approval of the ACP Education for Employment Plan. Thanks, Mrs. Klein.
Yeah, you bet.
Thank you.
Next, we move to the public portion of the meeting. Members members of the public wishing to address the board on any topic that is posted on the agenda are required to complete a public input form before the beginning of the meeting and submit it to the board clerk for consideration.
I have Doreen Moonen on finance and policies.
I was just wondering if you can clarify how many open enrollment students we have this year versus last year?
I don't have that right now.
Okay, what about the amount that you said, the 862,000? How much of that is open enrollment out? I mean, because you said that that was the,
That's
the
for
amount
last
that's
year.
left. So that's the open enrollment.
$1,200.
that's what's left. So how much did we spend on open enrollment out?
Again, I think this is important to clarify that, Ms. Moonen, this is not like a discussion. If you want to meet with us separately, we can certainly clarify, but I think it is part of the budget report. It was 1 point something million, 460,000 roughly was given out for open enrollment out. I'm not sure how many that exactly equates to. And then 860 was the net difference. So that's how much we get for the open enrollment net
So
balance.
the open enrollment revenue was 1.332,045,000. Open enrollment out expense was $269,355.
What about vouchers?
Vouchers was 182,605.60.
Okay, were you
Is
able,
that part of the report that we've issued tonight?
That was part of the revenue piece.
yeah,
Revenues. Okay.
it's not there.
Well, that's because it's a bank reconciliation, so that's the
Right,
revenue.
right.
So,
And I was wondering, I mean, you answered the question about the funds at the end of the month. My question is are you gonna start putting out the, Fund 20, Fund 21 and Fund 39? Because Fund 39 is supposed to have $104,000 in it, and.
it's part of the monthly financial report that I give you. So
Okay.
that was not given in June for the same reason that I said before.
Okay, okay,
I hope that makes sense. Just because there's so much activity with the auditors in June.
right.
If I give you something and then it'll be wrong, I don't want to.
But you're still gonna do one, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, okay,
And then it'll probably be the August meeting. So what'll happen is I'll give you the balance sheet for June in the August meeting, and then you'll also get the monthly financial report for June once it's all audited.
okay. And then
And that meeting will be held just prior to the annual meeting. So if you come on August 17th, you'll get a board meeting, followed by the budget hearing, followed by the annual
I
meeting.
think the annual meeting's first.
A three-fer.
Yeah, I think the
There we
annual
go.
meeting's
Annual meeting's first, okay, a three-pack.
I thought the budget meeting was always first, and then the annual
Okay.
meeting was.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I have one other question about your, one of the policies. It talks about the board using their personal, the board and teachers using their personal, like, phones and emails and stuff like that, that it's going to be part of, records now. Does that also include their posts that are gonna go out on social media?
We're working through the navigation of the policies right now, so I can't speak to that
Okay.
policy specifically, but it's addressing all around the new Act 89
Right.
legislation, so it's really meant to be a notice that pretty much anything and everything you're doing as a board member is scrutinized and under that expectation.
Okay, because I knew you would know that question without me having to try and figure it out, but thank
Sure.
you.
Yes, no problem. Act 89 is certainly something that's going to take a lot of learning for all of us. It's a new additional policy. That's why it's on tonight's first read.
Any others?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. Next, we'll move to.
I just also want to encourage you, Joey, I know we have a pretty open dialogue relationship. Please reach out. Tonight's comments were more discussion worthy. I'm more than happy to talk with you or take a phone call or
Sure.
stop by and we can talk through some of the things you have questions about.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Next, we move to district business, data Wrangler update.
Yes, so we've been with Data Wrangler now for a little bit, and Nick Kazuski is here in all of his awesomeness to talk about the relationship we have with Data Wrangler. So about a year ago now, we installed a meter, and it wrangles data every day. You would never know. It's behind closed doors. And so once a month, Nick and I meet with Bob and talk through functions of the data that come from that meter. And obviously there was a cost. The cost of that was written by our Fund 50, paid for by Food Service Consortium. So we're lucky that that was not a cost we had to implore, but it's given us really good, meaningful data. And I just asked Nick to come for sort of an annual once-over of here's what we're doing when we get together and meet. And he prepared a little presentation for you tonight. Shouldn't be more than 10 minutes all in.
Hello, can you hear me?
No, use your voice.
Just use your inside voice, okay, or outside voice. Well, hello everyone. My name is Nick Kazeski. As Mike was saying, I've been invited in tonight to talk about my work with the school district over about the last year and a half or so. So I work with Data Wrangler, and we are an energy data as a service company. Basically what that entails is that we work with different school districts, industrials, municipality buildings. We install a bit of hardware on their public utility, and then we have a software program that follows that information around, and then we're able to go in and monitor and look at how we're spending our money on energy, every day, every week, every month. Currently, so like if you go back one slide, currently what we're doing with the Raymond School District is a Fund 50 food service reporting, Energy Star building tracking, that's the UVBS program, that's the sponsorship through like Energy Star, and then also, like I was saying earlier, the energy monitoring service where I work with the building staff like Mike and Bob to look at different HVAC, lighting, occupancy, regulations that we've implemented at the building. Sorry, thank you. Go to the next slide. So, I've been asked to share a few of the strategies that we've applied over the last 6 months or so. I would like to preface this also saying that none of what we have achieved so far would be possible without the help of Bob or Mike. I mostly just make recommendations and help analyze the data. So when I recommend something, Bob has to be the one that goes in and physically tweaks the HVAC, tweaks the scheduling, cleaning a separate wing of the building at a time that we've set prior. So I just wanted to give both of those guys mad props. But then specifically I want to talk about point 3. So Bob is working earlier this year with Jay and Brennan to add more schedulable zones to our building management system. Basically that means we can take larger areas like the lunchroom or the gym, for instance, and schedule those separate from what the classrooms would be. So we don't have to heat or cool the entire building if only the Raymond Yoga Club is here doing jazzercise or something. Number 4 as well, Bob also worked with the Jace Controls to update our programming. I know we got some new equipment in the gym this year and just wasn't responding as well or as properly as it should have. And we got a re-implementation of that programming, and it has been able to save energy for us or act in a more efficient way over the past couple months since we made those updates. And then finally, just mad props once again to Bob and his summer help last year for getting the LED light upgrade throughout the building. I think that was a huge step forward and has saved a lot of money month over month. Not to mention that the Energy Star people have also given us a stipend or rebate through that program for us making the switch from older fluorescent style lights to LEDs.
Just please know, when Nick says us, Data Wrangler is not receiving that. Raymond is receiving that. So Nick is the sort of intermediary between the two. We had several $1,000s in rebates that was credited a few months back. So we're very happy with those results.
Yes, thank you for the clarification. Like Mike said, we just work one-on-one a lot, so sometimes I get that a little confused. But taking a look at the next slide, we Also work with Energy Star in the UVBS program. They have a website online where you can monitor and track the progress that your building's making. So I go in and input the natural gas and energy bills every month, and then Energy Star, our portfolio manager, takes those costs into account along with the building age, what's its square footage, like when was the roof replaced, when were the windows replaced, basically taking a look at how efficient a building of this size and of this age can possibly be. And if you scooch over just a little bit to the right, you can see that over the last 2 years, we've improved by 16% on that Energy Star score and 8% on weather normalized EUI. That's a metric based off of square footage of the building compared to how much kilowatts you're using in consumption of energy and therms of natural gas. But as long as you can show that your building is getting more efficient, there is also a stipend program or an incentive check that gets sent out once a year if you're able to prove that you as an entity are working to become more efficient. We got $800 this year from that, which I don't know, I'm very proud of and something to be happy about. And we re-enrolled for this year, so I'm hoping next year that'll be even bigger.
That's awesome.
I think the big piece is, it's a monthly pause for us to actually look at the bill. When individuals get their bills at home, all we know is they're going up, right? Nothing's getting cheaper. And so to be able to quantify maybe why that is and then try to approach it with some strategy is really important. And I think that's what the data conversations bring to us. Because we've got to watch everything going in and coming out. And that's really important. And when it's based off of spikes in usage and that's how your rates are set, it's a little bit temperamental, and it can be a sort of long-standing issue if you don't address it with those spikes. So
How much are we paying them a month?
we have a fee. There's a reporting fee. I want to say it's $500
Yep.
based on the reports, and the $250 report for each of the reports. So there's a fee over the time. So over a year's time, it's about $6,000. But when you're getting that money back,
$800 is a lot less than $6,000.
No. Well, that's not the only savings they'll keep from the program. So if you have questions, obviously, you can dive in more, and Jim can also help with that piece of it too.
No, I understand. I didn't mean to gloss over that part, but
Sure.
we work with the school district to keep energy bills at the same level.
Well, I get what you're doing, but changing light bulbs from fluorescent to LED
Right.
that's common sense. I mean, you shouldn't have to pay anyone $6,000 to us change light bulbs.
It's also helping us know when our peak usages are going and being able
Well, that-
to adjust
I mean,
all of that, and it's
That's
being
all
able
kind of
to.
common sense, if you ask me.
Well, it is, but it's
Well, the other
knowing
piece of
when
it,
these are.
after this is done, we can talk a little bit about kitchen usage. This is also helping us figure out our costs for kitchen, and we'll talk about that at the end. One of Ed's questions is, okay, so what's the cost of running our kitchen the way it is right now in the consortium? So that'll help with us with more accurate billing for each of the consortium schools potentially. So we'll talk at the end of the report here too. So yes, there's a spend, but we certainly want to make sure we quantify that, and it's not a loss. We're just spending money on this program and not getting any return. The return on the investment for the rebates on the lights was around $3,400, I think. I don't know offhand, but that was done a couple months back as a part of our financials. So that's another piece of this puzzle that was nice to obtain as well. So go ahead, keep going, Nick.
Yeah, no, I mean, I will answer any questions you have for me. Like Mike was saying, I know I spoke about this last year, but we also do the Fund 50 reporting. So you need a third party, I guess, like business or company to come in and audit your kitchen usage before that energy cost can be pulled out of the Fund 50 account, I guess from my understanding, and then used for other things in the district as seen fit. So it's a way to reallocate money that otherwise might be stuck in an account that doesn't need to be used there, or would be a waste if there was something else that we could upgrade instead. I guess I don't handle the finances, but I believe that's how we use those monies.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Jeff,
Sorry.
Jeff can articulate through a Fund 50 report, but
Okay, no, thank you. So, on to the summer objectives next. First and foremost, I just wanted to like highlight that we're still working with, I think, Fine Brothers to get the fridge and freezer, the new walk-ins installed in the kitchen. That is something that we tried to get done last year, but the installer people were like dragging their feet, so I'm doing whatever I can to help get that move forward and getting our Fund 50 reports updated once the new equipment goes in.
I think they set a delivery date or install date of mid-August, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm not sure what your involvement is, but it's going to be installed on the week of the 27th of July. So.
Right. Awesome, that's great news. And we have worked with the kitchen staff as well to make sure that the kitchen was closed down and I guess like de-energized as much as possible following the end of the school year. And also since summer school wasn't serving lunches. And then number two, I guess Bob and I plan on doing a walkthrough at some point during this summer. Point two kind of involves 3 and 4. And we want to walk back through the remaining classrooms that aren't on occupancy or I guess like movement sensors. I know that a lot of the classrooms are now, but that's just another, I guess, easy recommendable thing that shouldn't cost a ton of money that schools can do to make their buildings more efficient. Instead of like having people forget to turn off room lights, it'll turn off automatically. And then looking at the chillers and or the air handlers in the gym and atrium, and making sure that they're running on more of like stage 1 mode, if at all possible, over the summertime. Once we hit stage 2 cooling, that's where we can use a lot more energy at one time. And that's kind of what some of the people on the board were speaking about earlier. It's about your bill goes up exponentially the more power you're using at one time. Because you have to pull more power from the grid at that time being. Then, yes, thank you. On to the next slide. I just thought some ideas for like moving forward once again be the motion occupancy sensors in the rooms that haven't been updated yet. I also thought it might be worth looking into upgrading the HVAC controls and scheduling software once again. I know that a lot of this would have to be a referendum ask, but those are things that I think would really help Bob continue to keep on performing his job to the highest level. And then, like I said, we're also looking into the kitchen at possibly more efficient models of ovens, fridges, freezers. But yeah, thank you. I think after that, I just have a questions page for anyone that wants any follow-up, and then I also had a snippet of our Fund 50 reports that we produce on a monthly basis.
So a question that Ed had posed in our call on our last data wrangler meeting was just, can you quantify the cost of, operating the kitchen? And so this was a number that was provided to us from the data, and this was one that.
Yes, this is the most recent Fund 50 report from the last full month of school, so it's not from the June billing period, since it wouldn't have like a full 20 days of school on there. If lunch isn't served, then I zero out the day of the calculations for that particular period. But this takes into account for on-peak, off-peak energy usage, and then also on-peak demand, which is what Ed was asking about earlier. I know there's the food consortium, or
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes, yeah, consortium.
That is coming up, and I can provide whatever information is needed or dig into it more if Ed is curious and or needs more justification.
Yeah, I think it's important. This is meant to be, informational for the board. I think from this probably stems some more questions. The more data we look at, the more questions that sort of will emerge, right, from this.
Right.
So I'd encourage our board to engage in, writing down some of those questions, bring them to our monthly discussions that we have, or hop on a call. And then obviously working with Jeff to see, okay, is there anything to this that can continue to help us not only be aware of our spending, but then track it and reduce is the inevitable, and we're trying to have a lesser footprint so we have lesser cost.
Yes,
That's the goal.
everyone is always welcome to come to our meetings. No one
Yep.
is not welcome, like, bring any questions you want.
Yes.
So can you actually figure out how much just the kitchen is using?
Yeah, I mean, we should be able to get close. I can't like give you an exact number, but I would probably go on like a Sunday during the afternoon when no one else is in the building and just ask the kitchen staff to turn all of the equipment on at once. And then we should be able to isolate that peak using our software and get a good ballpark range of how much kilowatt hours or kilowatts it's adding to the peak demand on a daily or monthly basis.
I think, I mean, Nick, you work with a number of districts around the area, and
Yep.
in pretty much every school, that chunk of the day, the lunchtime, from 10 until 2 is the hottest usage time in
Yep.
pretty much every building. It's due to the production and then sustaining the production of the food and all the cleaning at the
Yes.
end. So working through and saying, okay, let's not turn on our ovens until this time, don't turn the ovens on the same time as the dishwasher, those kinds of things that we've gone into conversations with Bob about that have helped to reduce our overall spike, that those large moments that are then basing our usage off that one moment in time, and it keeps it up at that high level for the month, which then determines our rate for the month.
Yes.
But you still have to turn the oven on at the same time every day. You can't make the food later.
No, depending on what they're making, they can alter it. I mean, the
It just-
menus are different
I
each
just
day.
don't
and-
understand. It doesn't really make much sense.
Sure.
Other than knowing how much power you're using so the other schools can reimburse us, I just don't understand how it's helpful.
So it helped
I really
us,
don't.
you know, and from being in some of the meetings and stuff like that, it helped us be able to, because you get charged like on a peak. So if you just turn everything on at once, you're gonna spike so far up on your level, they're gonna charge you for that peak level, whereas we're trying to space everything out more, so you don't
When the
have
kids are
this
here,
big
you have to turn the
spike.
lights
So
on. It doesn't-
instead of our kilowatts being 79,000 at one point, we're getting it down leveled off at about 50. You're saving 29%
So what is the
kilowatts.
school doing different now than besides changing light bulbs and getting more energy efficient equipment?
It's turning on heat in rooms different times and turning on equipment in different rooms or in the kitchen at different times. So you're not having this one giant spike, because once you have that big giant spike in your electric, that's what the electric company is looking at. They're charging you that prime rate rather than dropping it down to like a 50. They're charging you up here where we could be charged here because we're not peaking so high, because we're leveling when we turn everything on. So you're not just spiking that energy, turning it on at once.
So every person in this school is turning the lights on at a different time. Don't believe it, not even for a fraction.
But all that equipment in there is getting turned on at different times, and your heating is getting turned on at different times with your boilers and everything.
And the reason
That's
that's
how
more
it's getting
efficient is
spread out.
because you're getting more efficient equipment.
We have not received any more, we had one oven that we replaced in the last 2 years here, that it was because the other oven broke.
But it's costing $6,000 a year.
Also,
Again, we can certainly produce a more specific
I just
presentation
feel
for
as
you.
though, I don't need another presentation. I feel as though what you're paying them, all you're doing is paying them to tell us what to do. You're not saving any money. You're taking the money you're saving and paying them on stuff that's common sense that you could easily figure out on your own.
well, there's one point that we just had to fix the J system from.
The J system was part of a meeting on the agenda that we spent how many thousands of dollars for to update.
And we
They didn't
found
have to
out
tell
that
us to update it.
part of it was
We already knew
because we
how to
found
update
out.
We had to update it because our
Exactly.
system broke.
Exactly.
But
And it
again,
also
I would
got
encourage,
peaked because we had to get the electric to be able to see, because we had part of the J system, even after it got replaced, there was tweaks that needed to be done in our programming, that they were able to find out that we had J systems that weren't closing when they said they were closed on our.
Well, that should be the contractor that put the J system in that does that, not them. When you hire a person to put the system in, that's the person who should figure that out. They should not be telling that person it ain't working.
Yeah, well, we would have never known because we would have just never seen it on our electric bill. We just would have been thinking like the last 20 years that, hey, you know, everything's working fine. And they were able to single it out and be like, hey, this ain't working properly, what's going on here? And they were able to single it out. Then we could go back to the contractor to have them fix it.
So
Well,
it-
you guys can agree to disagree, I disagree, I don't believe it's a good idea.
that's fine. I can certainly produce more return on investment information. There is a certain point that I think the board will have to decide collectively, what do they think? Is the program worth it? So if you would like more return on investment information, I can certainly provide, or have them provide it. Obviously, I'm just part of
Because
these
how much did
conversations
it
and
cost
meetings.
to install this? only like 10 or 15,000?
I want to say it was 8,000.
It was 9,000 and the food service consortium paid for that, so.
Right. So again, I encourage you to jot questions or talk with me. We can certainly, I can, produce that for them and get the information we need to justify the program. There's a certain point you got to make a decision. Everything costs money, right? And so we can certainly look at it together and have a future conversation about it. There's not an obligation we're not under contract with Data Wrangler forever to, be having to pay them these things, but there's a certain return on investment we've got to make sure we rationalize.
And yes, like Mike was saying, I can prepare any reports that you would like to see or that you want to see. I fully understand and can do that.
Certainly. Does
This
the board
is
have
just an
any
example.
other questions at all for
Not
Nick?
at this time.
Okay.
Thank you
Nick.
for the time,
Yes,
everyone.
thank you for coming out and sharing.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
And obviously, Nick, if you'd like to go, you can. Enjoy this hot evening. Or you can hang out and listen to the rest of our policy work, so,
Which,
thanks a lot.
Yeah, you don't have
Thank
to
you,
hear me
guys.
speak then.
There you go.
Have a good rest of your night.
thank you.
Thank you.
So next we will move to gifted and talented presentation.
Presentation's a big word. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about it. Can you pull it up?
I'm trying.
As he's getting to that, what kind of prompted this is, it seems like we've had just a few students in the last couple of years that, we knew we needed something different. And so that's been something that started looking into, and lo and behold, there is a statutory requirement that, and I just highlighted it because that's really long and big, but basically the the board needs to establish a plan and designate a person to coordinate gifted and talented program, and then we need to, it should go kindergarten through grade 12. We have to have general intellect, specific academic, leadership, creativity, and visual and performing arts. And then on the bottom, and what we need to do is provide access without charge to appropriate programming for pupils identified as gifted and talented. So, we have to do some stuff here. Okay, so what does gifted mean? First of all, I just wanted to make sure we all have the same understanding. So it's really, there's a difference between bright and gifted, and this is hard to wrap your mind around, but this definition I kind of liked. So it's a remarkable ability, talent, or intelligence in a specific area, often implies an inborn capacity to perform or understand things well without needing to learn them the hard way. So, for instance, we have a student who was in 4th grade and tested as, can you go back? I did put it, yeah, I want you, can you open that one? And tested like almost at the top of the 8th grade as a 4th grader.
Can't open the whole.
So we didn't teach him that stuff, but he knows this stuff. So it's kind of like having a innate ability sometimes. No, you can't. Yeah, that's very hard to say. I can't answer. If you look there, and I've talked with Mrs. Wagner, Mrs. Klein, and we've talked quite a bit about these kinds of things, and what one of our challenges could be is determining who should be in the gifted and talented program, and what does that really, really mean. So you can kind of look on the left is bright students. These are students that work hard, they get A's, high A's, they learn with ease, they want to learn, all of those kinds of things. Where a gifted student already knows the stuff, maybe needs to be told once or twice, very curious on their own. Sometimes we might say they're wild or silly, some of their ideas, because they think abstractly. And we have some students that we know for sure prefer adults. So it's just kind of an interesting little thing something. So we would look to come up with a list like this, kind of to help parents and the community understand who might be really gifted and who might be, just other students we need to differentiate for.
One of the things we do as we're showing people around in our community, giving people tours, this is sort of the busy season for that.
Yeah.
And oftentimes people will say, well, my kid wants to make a transfer, or they want to move in, they want to come back to Raymond because they go to a different school, and they really are a bright, intelligent, gifted kid, and that's awesome. I don't know very many parents that aren't going to say, my kid's pretty gifted. I like to think my kids are pretty sharp, but what we're looking for here is a process, not just people's word. Because when you come in and say that, that's awesome. That gets our antenna up, and we say, gosh, that's really nice to have a smart kid. What does that mean? And so that's where this discussion has come to us, because it's one thing for a mom or a dad to be proud of their kid. It's another thing for us to identify internally too and support that with evidence. And then a plan.
So some of the ways that we could service students who are identified as gifted is we can cluster them. That means we might have 2 students in the same class that can kind of work together and do enrichment kind of projects. Curriculum compacting. So if a student already knows the information, why do they have to sit there in all the weeks of lessons just to take the test at the end? So teachers can give pre-tests or have them take the end test and then have them go work on something else. You can do a pull-out group, and that's should be used sparingly, but that is kind of an older model. And sometimes you can do some pretty neat things with those. We can accelerate someone in a subject. So in math, for instance, we do have a little bit of that here. Project-based learning, we can differentiate within the classroom, and we do have some academic extracurriculars we've identified. Okay, so our little plan here, the draft of a plan, the concept of a plan, is we're going to form a team to drive the work surrounding GT instruction. We want to identify and procure measurements for academic and intellectual categories. The good news is some schools have really good guides and they're already published. And we can just kind of look on there. And as far as the academic, that will be easy. Intellect, we have to talk about that a little bit, but the arts are going to be more challenging. We'll develop a menu of options by grade level. Begin training teachers on instruction, design a template for a GT student plan. So they get a plan, just like a student with a reading plan gets a plan, or even a 504 plan, anything like that. And then create a handbook and post it to our website. We're kind of obligated to do those things. Then year 2, then we go into the next categories. That second one is the same, I'm sorry. Second bullet point is the same, ignore that. Enrichment expansion. So what can we do? We have something called win time right now, and it's what I need time. And we're pretty good at getting kids intervention during that time. But wouldn't it be great if we could also in that time do some true enrichment activities and not just have the kids on the computers? Develop a genius hour concept. So if you can imagine putting a couple kids with a teacher that would like to do some interesting projects. They're driving the research. They're kind of doing all of that as a pull-out group. And then we would obviously revise our handbook as we saw needed. Okay, challenges, resources. And what I mean by that is time. That's really the biggest key here. So a teacher would probably say, oh my gosh, I have to do this, and I'm going to differentiate on every end of this. That's a lot. So staffing would be a challenge. Training of the teachers.
An example, there's an assessment out there called the Naglieri assessment.
Yes.
Sounds pretty fancy. Sounds like Jeff Genovese's got the Naglieri going on. Bunch of Italian names.
I would want him.
But the Naglieri is one form of assessment that's out there that we may end up looking at. We've never used that before. So there's training, there's costs, there's all those things that go into that. But it's a great assessment for what we're looking for in this category. Again, to be able to quantify what a parent is saying to us when they say my child is gifted, and we want to really drill in and see exactly what that means for that kid.
Sometimes the students themselves don't want to be identified as gifted. And then it goes vice versa. Sometimes some kids feel left out and their best friend is gifted and they're not. So battling misconceptions from families, students, and teachers. We have to be very clear on what this means. Okay, but the benefits provide appropriate challenge, develop critical thinking, leads to better behavior. Sometimes we have behavior problems, kids who are bored or just not engaged. Reduce that and ensure all students are really getting what they need, which is part of our vision, right? Mission statements. That's all. Just kind of wanted to let you know that's kind of in the works and something we are supposed to do.
So, how long has this been?
I think a long time.
Oh, yeah. And how did it come about?
For here,
Yeah.
us, I think it started with probably a student or two that we started talking about. And then I started looking into some things, and I looked at DPI's website.
I mean, we used to, when I was here, there wasn't even.
Was there? And there could have been in the past.
So I don't know, I'm sure.
At one point.
Got thrown by the wayside for a while there.
Probably. Could be. Maybe.
None of us would.
Okay.
You just hadn't opened the gifts? Is it?
We were talented in other things. Working on farms.
GT services have been around districts for decades.
Yes.
It's a matter of how we represent it and how we treat it, and acknowledging that parents are giving us their best and brightest, and they want them to be challenged, just like they want them to be supported if they're struggling. So it's a good idea to have a plan, or as you put it, concepts of a plan, as we look to the future.
Yes. And some, right, Mrs. Klein, good point. Sometimes we're already doing the things, but they're not formalized. It's like, oh, this kid will do this for him. We really need a system around it. So it's fair.
Has Raymond in the past had a gifted and talented program?
They were just
I'm not
talking
sure,
about-
that's what these guys are saying, but
When we were
did.
here, there was a good thing telling them.
yeah,
I think they said as soon as they left, the talent
there was
left.
no more talent.
That's what it was. As soon as these two left, there's no more talent.
They did have it when my kids were here, because
Yes.
they were in the program.
There you go. So it's been around, again, it's how it takes shape and what the expectations are for the delivery of the program, and I think it's just a good idea for us to continue to have that out front. You know, we always spend so much time on the remediation side and the support side when kids struggle. We don't always have that opportunity to extend, you know, beyond grade level expectations. So we've got some pretty sharp kids here. It comes through in their test scores. All of a sudden, we'll have a kid who got, literally, we have 2 kids right now that were, if not perfect, one off, one wrong on the state test, out of the whole test.
Well,
So
they maxed it out.
they maxed
from
it out.
4th grade.
So every year they get a perfect score on the exam. So I think we gotta look at that kid and say, maybe there's some things we can do to work with you differently than everybody else. And sometimes that kid says, no, thank you.
Right.
And if that's the case, fine. But at least we've got the opportunity for it.
Does the kid get to say no, thank you, or is that something that's discussed with the
The
parents?
parents.
Oh, absolutely, parent-based. Absolutely. There are kids who are like,
Oh,
no,
you
they'll
just
say
said
no
the
to
kid said
everything.
no, thank you.
No,
I was
it's-
just checking you, Mike.
Parents are always involved in that discussion. Absolutely.
Good Tanner.
Good point. Tanner has gifts, he just hasn't opened them yet. Is that
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yep. I wrapped them up pretty tight.
That's right, wrapped up. Okay.
All right, so you can roll right into the
Approval of
academic
academic
standards.
standards.
Yep, so every year we do this, we have to go through and the board needs to adopt the standards, the state standards, which are already done for us. But just, I sent this out, we have the links. The only one that was updated this year was health, but it was just wording. You know, nothing big happened there. So I would recommend that we adopt the state standards as they are for our use next year.
I'll make a motion to approve the ACP education for employment plan.
No, that's standards.
Oh, the standards?
The stand- we're on standards first.
That doesn't.
The standards needs approval.
This one.
I'll make a motion to approve the academic standards. Sorry.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the implementation and usage of the Wisconsin State Academic Standards as our academic standards of Raymond School District Number 14 for the 2026-2027 school year. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And next is the approval of ACP Education for Employment Plan.
Now I'll make a motion to approve the ACP ACP education for employment plan.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to approve the education for employment as written for Raymond School District number 14 for the 2026-2027 school year. Is there any other discussion that we need from that? Just, okay,
That's it. Now we can tell them we have an approved plan as a
Yes.
director.
okay.
We have to report back to the state when it was approved.
All right. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And now, Mike, the first read of Act 89 policies.
Yeah.
You're on.
Yeah, so just a little background on this. So Act 89 is the new function that relates to the grooming legislation that's been out in the public. I think it's Act 57 initially came to us a couple months ago, and this is sort of the actionable side of Act 57, so they call it Act 89. It's got a number of elements to it that are related to really protecting both students and staff from being involved in situations that are compromising. Most importantly, students, obviously, but then also looking at the adults and how they're engaging with kids to make sure that they understand the expectations and what's going on as they're working with other people's kids. So Mike will go through, this is the first read, so these are just the initial numbers and codes, and then we'll have our second read in the coming month for approval. These need to be in place by the start of the school year, so by September 1.
All right, so we have bylaw 0144.5, board member behavior, communications, and code of conduct is revised. Policy 1213, 3213, and 4213, student supervision and welfare, revised. Policy 7530.012, staff and school officials' use of personal communication devices, revised. We have policy 7540.03, student technology and acceptable use of safety, or use and safety, revised. Policy 7544, use of social media, revised. Policy 8210, volunteers, revised. And policy 8462, child abuse and neglect, revised. Usually most of them, when they're revised, it's just a switch of a wording or the nouns now and stuff.
Or it's a consolidation. In some of these cases, they've taken multiple policies that existed and they made them into one. That seems to be a new thing now, so there's less policy but more robust and in-depth policy. So a lot of those revisions are combination factors.
So usually it's not a lot of big changes.
So it's not policy here locally making those changes, it's made by,
This one's state. We go through Neola, and they
Right.
go through it to
Yeah.
help
Neola-
us make the policy. but
Yeah.
they're
That gets the new
recommended by
laws.
state.
yes, by the state.
So
Yep,
the laws
perfect.
passed by the state then creates the policy discussion goes to Neola. There are other agencies too, but Neola's the largest one.
Right,
And then they bring it to us as school districts, and we can go through and customize it to our situation based on personnel. Oftentimes, it's identifying who the point people are in the building. So there's a lot of district administrator, superintendent language, and then we go from there.
okay, perfect, thank you for clarifying.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Next, we're going to move to the approval of new hire.
Yes, we are excited. While we lost an amazing educator in Mr. Wolf, kind of late in the retirement decision game here in June, we were able to post and had a good chunk of applicants for our physical education teacher. So the replacement has been hired. Mr. Kyle Diedrich did a great job in the process. He came to us with 6 months of long-term subbing in a neighboring district, Randall Consolidated. Mr. Diedrich also coaches in, like every sport I think they have. Their athletic director was a little nervous actually, because he said, what am I gonna do for my coach of this, and this? And I said, I'm sorry, I guess we'll be good on coaching for a while here at Raymond. So the good news is Kyle's extremely involved, understands the big picture of athletics with kids and physical education. And so we're looking to put him in our physical education classroom this coming year. And the team was involved. The committee did a great job selecting candidates through the pool. And we're really excited to have Kyle as part of the team. So we're looking for the approval of Mr. Kyle Diedrich as our new physical education teacher.
I make a motion to approve the hire of new physical education teacher, Mr. Kyle Diedrich, as outlined by administration.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the hire of the new physical education teacher, Mr. Kyle Dietrich, as outlined by the administration. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Kyle did win our hearts when he initially opened up with, I grew up and currently live on a dairy farm. And that was sort of like, what? Holy cow. It's going to connect with some of our, holy cow, pun intended. You're welcome. But it was really great to hear his stories. And when he said he works hard, I think people in this community know what that means when you work on a farm, what that means. So he won the hearts of the committee pretty easily with that one.
Where's he from, Mike?
Twin Lakes.
Twin Lakes. Okay.
Yeah. A little bit of a drive, but
Yeah.
Not too bad. Isn't that
Half hour, 45 minutes.
Isn't that where Jamie lives in that area?
Yeah,
No,
Yeah.
he's
I
one.
was just in Shreveport today, it was half hour.
Okay.
I think it all depends on who's driving, Mike. All right.
Get on the interstate. GPS, 33 minutes.
All right. Winding down, committee reports. There were no meetings for curriculum, nor facilities, finance.
Finance, we went through our normal stuff. We had a telephonic conference with a few members of the board joining via conference call. And Jeff was on vacation, so it was a quick meeting, but we certainly went through all the reports we had tonight and talked through the wrap up and the audit a little bit.
Okay. And no meeting for personnel nor policy. Administrative reports.
Yes, we are in summer mode. Welcome, everyone. You get to see the school at its finest. Lots of projects, many classrooms. We're about 75% classrooms done and ready for moving back in. We did a pretty extensive closet clean out. We did a King of the Junkyard with our storage for teachers. So many teachers over the years have acquired many things, and so the last day of school, we put everything that was in the closets in the hallway, and if it wasn't taken, marked, and put back in their room for usage, we pitched it. We donated it. We gave one last chance to take it, and we were able to really purge out a lot of our spaces, which is really nice. Our exterior storage was cleared of about 65% of the old desks and tables and things that were broken, so that's been cleared. Again, we started that last summer and continued it this summer just to try to make sure we're maximizing how things look around here when the school year's in function. So we're also getting our gym floor done right now. We are currently have a company starting this week to redo the floors, refinish the floors, Stryker, and they did our floors a couple of years ago. Had a little hiatus for a few jobs, and they're back now. We're looking forward to a brand new looking floor here soon. It pretty much will be done in the month of July, and then Cure should be ready for feet by the time we get back to school here pretty soon. Back to school information, hard to believe, but back to school for teachers, new teachers is August 21st. Staff will be back in the week of the 24th through the 27th. And the 26th is our community picnic and open house, so kids can drop off their stuff from 4 to 6. And from 5 to 7, the community can join us in our 3rd annual community picnic out on the playground. So that's going to be happening on August 26th. Again, 4 to 6 drop off of materials, and pictures, of course, picture day, and 5 to 7 for the community to have those meals outside. Looking forward to all of that. Hard to believe it's only a month away. And then our feasibility task force, we have our next meeting, our 3rd meeting of the series, is going to be August 10th. That is 1 week to the day of when we'll have our board workshop, which is August 3rd, in which Nexus will share the feasibility information. And if you noticed, the flyers that were handed out on the 4th of July, we gave those out to any parade goers that were there. It was met with a lot of positives, and people were appreciative to hear about the school. Several people who aren't from the community are like, how do I get my kid into that school? And so it was nice to have that feedback and the positivity there. The flyer also outlined the feasibility study that's going on, which is the survey that's going to be randomized across 400 households in the Raymond community that is underway right now. I'm not sure if anyone's gotten a call, but they're starting the calls as we speak to go through and do their surveying for us to get better information. August 3rd, we'll get the information as a board at the workshop as to what the recommendations are from the study. And then August 10th, the community will, at the feasibility task force, be able to have discussion about potential solutions for the things that are recommended. From that, we hope to really start the conversation about, okay, what if anything would happen to the building, what kinds of things are our priorities, etc. So we're kind of getting that ball rolling now. Again, with the possibility of that task force working through, we're looking at a future tour. There's a couple of facilities that have had upgrades around us, and taking a little tour to a location and meeting there to see a walkthrough of that committee taking a look at things. We really want that team to understand what's at stake here and what we mean when we say changes, upgrades, things like that. Because I think when you see it, you can't deny it, that's for sure. So, and then of course, the ever-ending question of, if we do these things, how much does it cost us, is coming soon. So we're working on those pieces as we update the community through the task force process. Those are open meetings to the public. All are welcome. We have about 15 standing members. We have as many as 20 that could show, and so we're hopeful that they'll all come and keep coming. So August 10th. That's what I've got for my update. Miss Marty.
Summer school was a big success. The kids really enjoyed the space theme that we had, and that really got the teachers got very creative with that, and I thought, we have really got a great crew of staff here that do those kinds of things. They liked it so much that at the end, the kids were asking me, can we just have a few more days? I said, well, I don't think the teacher wants that. But anyway, that worked very well. We had about 120 kids that attended consistently, and just some real positives. Math implementation update. So after we are right in the middle of it, people are doing training. The training for Bridges is a live training that you sign up for a time and you're with people from other schools. You know, you're on Zoom or whatever. But the feedback I've got, I did it myself just because I wanted to see what it was like, but the teachers have really enjoyed talking with how other, because now they can ask questions or see how it's used there and that kind of thing. Big ideas, or math and you that's at the middle school, they're also in the middle of training that. All of our materials came in. If you go into the green and gold room, you can't even walk. So we have to go through and organize all of that kind of stuff. And we are coming up, the team is come up with some standard processes for how do we give the test, when do we give the, all of those kinds of things, so that we're developing some consistency. But everyone's pretty excited about it. And I think we may have found a long-term sub who came to the parade.
Yes. Actually, went to the fireworks.
Yes.
So our long-term sub was not wanting to go to his local fireworks in the community next door that will remain unnamed. And he said, I'm just looking for a quiet place, maybe a little more personal. So his wife Googled good places for fireworks, and Raymond was the top of the list. And so he came here with his wife. He sat through the auction and was hanging out really quiet like a fly in the wall. And he looked over and he saw our school. And he said, I kind of want to work there. And he's a retired 37-year veteran teacher from Illinois who lives up in the Kenosha area. And he is now agreed to, we got to get it all signed, sealed, and delivered, but he's in love with Raymond. So we're talking to him about our long-term sub, which I just thought was a cute story of Googling the best fireworks around, and Raymond came up. So good work, community.
All right. That's it?
That's it.
That's it. Board member comments.
I just want to say that sorry, Mikey. I had friends come in from out of town, I was telling you about it, that came in from out of town, and they come every year because of the fireworks and the parade, because they get to throw out candy still, they, it just, what is it, RCBO, did I say that right? Just does a fabulous job, so I just want to make sure to compliment them on what they do, everything for the 4th of July and the festivities, the car show, the hometown hero thing was amazing, even though I think Janelle was telling me about it, that it was very good, and somebody else too. So I just love where we are as a community, so thank you, everybody.
Yeah, I was gonna kinda go along with the 4th of July thing, seeing Mike out there, seeing the community go up, talk to Mike, take all the stuff. I had to run across the street and say hi to him because he was on the wrong side of the street.
Yeah.
I actually sat out this parade, one of the very few times I've not in the Raymond parade. I decided to take off. Summer school, really good job with that. I heard a lot of kids loved it. The spacey, my grandson absolutely loved it. We have space stuff all over the house now. So that was really good. I can't wait to see what Nexus has to say about what's coming up. Unfortunately, I will not be here for the workshop, so hopefully I get an email to get it before having to come to the community event the following week. But I'm kind of excited to see what they have to say, see what we can do, see where we go from there. So other than that, I hope everyone's enjoying their summer. I finally get to go on vacation next month. Look at, I'm electric over here now.
Oh, yeah, you are.
Well, we were out of town. I want to know if the rain held off for the parade.
We did not have any rain.
No, it was great.
No?
No.
A little muggy, but yeah, it was great.
Okay, good. I was worried about that.
Mike
looking
had his
at the
sweat on,
forecast.
definitely.
I did.
You did great, Mike. I was feeling pretty guilty, I'll be honest with you.
Okay, anyone else? No? Okay. Our annual meeting is coming up. It will be on August 17th in conjunction with our regular board meeting. But first, our board workshop meeting will be August 3rd at 5:30 p.m. Regular board meeting will be August 17th at 6 p.m., followed by the budget hearing and the annual meeting at 7 p.m. And with that,
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We are adjourned.
Thank you, Audrey.
It is 7:18.